In any encounter with toxic people, your first instinct is often emotional: anger, frustration, the urge to defend yourself. That's natural, but it's also exactly what they want. Emotional control is not about suppression. It's about strategy. It's about refusing to hand over your power just because someone else is trying to push your buttons. Toxic people don't thrive in peaceful environments. They feed off chaos. They bait you, provoke you, and then sit back while you unravel. They love watching you lose control because in that moment, they gain control. But when you maintain emotional composure, when you don't flinch, cry, yell, or scramble to defend yourself, you flip the script. You shift the balance of power. They suddenly have nothing to feed on, and that quiet strength, it terrifies them. Emotional mastery starts with self-awareness. You have to know what triggers you before they do. What gets under your skin? What insults feel personal? What makes you want to react? Map those things out. Understand your own emotional landscape better than anyone else. Because if you don't know your weak spots, toxic people will find them before you do, and use them against you. Next comes discipline. Emotional control isn't about pretending to be unaffected. It's about choosing how to respond, when to respond, and if a response is even necessary. Silence is a weapon. Pausing before speaking is power. When someone lashes out and you meet them with stillness, they don't know what to do with that. You disrupt their pattern. You confuse their script. And here's what most people won't tell you: emotional control is not passive. It's an active, deliberate force. It's not weakness. It's not avoidance. It's a calculated choice to not let someone else dictate your state of mind. Because once you've handed them your emotions, you've handed them the steering wheel. That's not strength. That's surrender. Toxic people want you to get emotional because it makes them feel more in control. They want you to yell, cry, over-explain, or storm off. But when you keep your tone low, your eyes steady, and your words intentional, you become unreadable. That unpredictability makes them nervous. And in any power dynamic, the person who controls their emotions controls the outcome. Now understand this. Mastering your emotions doesn't mean you're cold. It means you're in command. It means you don't let other people decide your temperature. You lead the interaction, not from a place of rage, but from calm, collected presence. That kind of emotional discipline is rare. And rare is powerful. Most people live at the mercy of their feelings. You can't, not if you want to make toxic people fear you, because fear doesn't come from aggression. It comes from restraint. It comes from the ability to look someone in the eye while they try to rattle you, and not move an inch. It comes from knowing who you are, what you stand for, and refusing to be pulled into someone else's emotional chaos. Toxic people don't respect hints. They don't respect kindness when it's not backed by strength. They push to see how far they can go, how much they can get away with, and whether you'll let it slide just to keep the peace. The moment they realize you're uncomfortable saying no, they exploit that weakness. That's why boundaries aren't optional. They're non-negotiable. You don't ask for permission to set a boundary. You don't water it down so it's easier for someone else to swallow. A real boundary is clear, direct, and firm. It doesn't leave room for misinterpretation. It says, this is what I accept, this is what I don't, and if you cross that line, you lose access. You say it once. You mean it fully, and then you follow through. What makes a boundary powerful is not just setting it, it's defending it without hesitation. That's where most people fold. They say, I don't like being treated that way, and then let it happen again and again. And toxic people notice that. Every time you bend, they learn you're bluffing. But when you respond to a boundary violation with swift and consistent consequences, you become someone they know not to play with. A steel boundary doesn't mean being rude. It means being real. You're not there to manage someone else's feelings. You're there to protect your own space. If someone feels offended by your standards, that's their problem. Let them be uncomfortable. Let them call you difficult. Toxic people often weaponize guilt, shame, and false closeness to test your limits. That's part of the manipulation. Don't take the bait. You don't owe anyone an explanation for protecting your peace. If someone needs a 30-minute monologue just to understand that you don't tolerate disrespect, they're not confused. They're hoping you'll break. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. Say less, do more. Action is what reinforces a boundary, not words. Start noticing the micro-violations, the subtle jabs, the guilt, tripping, the jokes at your expense. That's where the line starts to blur. Nip it early. Call it out directly. I don't find that funny. That doesn't work for me. We're not going to continue this conversation if it's going there. Short, firm, unshakable. That's how you communicate a steel boundary. Defending your boundaries isn't just about toxic people. It's about you. It's about training yourself not to compromise your values in exchange for temporary comfort. It's about unlearning the need to be liked by everyone, especially those who don't respect you. The more you honor your own limits, the more confident you become in enforcing them. That confidence, it radiates. It tells people, I know my worth, and I don't negotiate it. Boundaries aren't about distance. They're about clarity. They don't ruin relationships. They reveal them. You'll quickly find out who respects you and who only tolerates you when you're easy to manipulate. And once you stop being easy to manipulate, the right people step up and the wrong ones step out. Self-respect isn't loud. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't brag, beg, or compete. But when you truly embody it, people feel it before you speak. And toxic people, they feel it as a threat, because self-respect is one thing they can't manipulate. It's the one thing that doesn't bend under pressure, charm, or control. Most people confuse self-respect with ego. They think it's about being better than others, proving a point, or refusing to ever compromise. That's not it. Self-respect is about understanding your value so deeply that you never feel the need to prove it. It's the quiet confidence that says, I know who I am, I know what I allow, and I walk away the moment that's violated. Toxic people survive on cracks in your self-worth. They look for insecurities, doubt, and a need for validation. They search for your desire to be accepted, and they use it like a leash. If you need their approval, you'll play their game. But when you're grounded in self-respect, you don't play, you don't chase. You don't shrink. You don't beg to be treated right. You expect it. And if you don't get it, you remove yourself. No theatrics required. Weaponizing your self-respect means using it as armor and offense at the same time. It protects you from taking things personally, from tolerating breadcrumbs, from thinking mistreatment is something you have to earn your way out of. It also makes you dangerous to anyone who thought you'd be easy to control. Because when you carry yourself like someone who won't tolerate nonsense, the people who thrive on manipulation start to back off. It shows up in the way you speak. You say what you mean. You don't sugarcoat. You don't apologize for being clear. It shows in how you move, direct, intentional, and never desperate. You don't fight for a seat at tables that insult you. You don't lower your standards to be more relatable. You raise your environment to match the level of self-respect you've cultivated. People will test you, especially when they realize you won't bend the way others do. They'll call you cold, difficult, or arrogant. That's not a reflection of you. That's a reflection of what they can't get away with anymore. Don't internalize their discomfort. Don't shrink to make them more comfortable. Let them feel what it's like to be around someone who doesn't need their validation to stand tall. You don't need to get aggressive. You don't need to raise your voice. Self-respect isn't about domination. It's about control. It's about saying no without guilt, walking away without looking back, protecting your energy without explanation. It's being the type of person who doesn't respond to provocation because your identity isn't up for debate. The moment you stop tolerating disrespect in any form, you send a message that's louder than any confrontation. I know who I am, and you don't get access to me just because you want it. Power isn't always loud. In fact, the most powerful person in the room is rarely the one doing the most talking. It's the one everyone notices without effort, the one who walks in and changes the energy without needing to raise their voice, overshare, or demand attention. That's presence, and it's what toxic people fear the most, because they can't figure it out and they can't control it. Toxic individuals rely on noise, drama, chaos, confrontation. These are their tools. They talk over people to dominate. They provoke emotions to throw others off balance. But when you don't match their noise, when you meet their chaos with composure, their power starts to dissolve. You shift the atmosphere simply by not reacting the way they expect. They push for attention, and you give them stillness. That imbalance unnerves them more than any argument ever could. Presence is not about being passive, it's about being deliberate. It's the way you hold eye contact, the way you sit still when others fidget, the way you listen fully and speak only when necessary. It's posture, tone, timing. It's knowing that your words mean more when you don't waste them. When you speak with precision, people listen. And when you withhold unnecessary commentary, people start to wonder what you're thinking. That's control. You don't need to dominate the conversation to lead it. You guide it by staying grounded, by not rushing to fill silences, and by resisting the urge to prove yourself. The need to constantly explain, justify, or defend is rooted in insecurity. Presence is rooted in knowing you have nothing to prove. That alone is intimidating to anyone who is counting on your insecurity to gain leverage. Toxic people talk in circles, trying to confuse, overwhelm, or bait you. But when you're anchored in presence, you're not easily moved. You see through the noise. You don't interrupt, but you also don't get pulled in. You listen, you assess, and you decide how to respond, if at all. Your silence forces them to keep revealing themselves, while you reveal nothing. That imbalance of information gives you the edge. Controlling the room isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the clearest. When you say something, say it with finality. When you look at someone, look like you see right through the performance. When you enter a room, walk like you know exactly why you're there, and don't need anyone's approval to stay. People will feel that before they even hear you speak. You create presence by developing self-respect, emotional control, and discipline. It's not about faking confidence. It's about becoming so internally steady that nothing external can shake you. You become the anchor in the room, the one others instinctively look to when things get unstable, not because you're the loudest, but because you're the calmest, the most composed, the one who doesn't flinch, doesn't chase, and doesn't play into anyone else's script. Toxic people want one thing, your reaction. Anger, defensiveness, desperation, guilt, any emotion they can use to throw you off balance. Because the more emotional you get, the easier you are to manipulate. That's how they win, not with logic, not with truth, with chaos, and if you fall for it, you're playing checkers. Reactive, fast, sloppy, but if you want to beat them, you need to shift your mindset, you need to play chess. Quiet, strategic, calculated. You don't move unless the move matters. Outrage feels powerful in the moment. You want to call them out, expose them, put them in their place, but that emotional explosion only gives them more ammunition. You show your hand, you give them your weak spots, you hand them proof that they've gotten to you. In chess, that's called a sacrifice, and it's one you don't make unless you're getting something bigger in return. In checkers, you leap. In chess, you lure. To play chess with toxic people, you need emotional detachment, Not apathy, strategy. You observe. You don't respond to the first insult or manipulation. You watch patterns. What triggers them? What tactics do they repeat? What do they want from you? When you stop engaging emotionally, you start gathering information. And information is how you win without ever raising your voice. This isn't about being passive, it's about being 3 steps ahead. Toxic people assume you'll react, that's their whole plan. But when you don't, when you pause, when you respond with questions instead of anger, it throws them off. Instead of exploding, you press back with calm precision. Why did you say that? What did you mean by that? You force them to explain themselves, something they're rarely prepared to do. That's the checkmate they never see coming. You don't need to correct every lie or defend against every accusation. Silence can be a trap they fall into themselves. Let them dig their own hole. Let them speak too much, expose too much, overplay their hand. When you're playing chess, you're not trying to win the moment. You're playing for the end game. Let them think they've got the upper hand if it keeps them from realizing what you're really doing, positioning yourself in silence. Every move has a purpose. You don't argue, you document. You don't threaten, you prepare. You don't react. You remove yourself when it's time. While they're looking for the next fight, you're looking at the entire board. You're not there to survive the interaction. You're there to win the dynamic. Smart doesn't mean passive. Strategic doesn't mean soft. It means letting your control speak louder than your outrage. It means valuing results over reactions. Toxic people don't expect that. They expect noise, emotion, chaos. What they can't handle is someone who doesn't bite. Someone who doesn't need to be loud to win. Someone who plays the long game, stays calm under pressure, and chooses power over performance. When you're dealing with toxic people, it's tempting to mirror their behavior, to fight fire with fire, to meet manipulation with manipulation, aggression with aggression, and games with games. It can feel like the only way to win is to become like them, cold, calculating, detached. But the truth is, the moment you start imitating them, you lose something more important than the argument. You lose your identity, and once you've traded your values for tactics, you're no longer the strong one. You're just another player in their game. Toxic people want to drag you into their level. They want to see if you'll abandon your principles when things get uncomfortable, because that gives them permission to say, "You're no better than me." That's the trap. The moment you start justifying bad behavior because they did it first, you've already given them the power to define how you show up in the world. Integrity isn't something you hold when it's easy. It's what you hold when everything in you wants to do otherwise. Imitation is reaction. It's giving someone else control over your behavior. Integrity is restraint. It's deciding that your values are not negotiable, even when you're under pressure. Especially when you're under pressure. Toxic people push for the emotional high conflict, control, chaos. But when you choose integrity, you remove their ability to shape you. You make it clear, I may deal with you, but I'll never become you. Integrity doesn't mean weakness. It means alignment. Your words match your actions. Your actions reflect your standards. You don't need to manipulate, provoke, or play dirty. You don't need to win at the cost of your character. Because when you lead with integrity, you never walk away with regret. And the truth is, real strength isn't proven by how well you can fight someone toxic. It's proven by how little they can change you. Choosing integrity doesn't mean you tolerate abuse. It means you handle it without compromising yourself. You speak directly, you set limits clearly, you take action decisively, but you don't imitate what you're working to rise above. You don't let their dysfunction become your blueprint, because if you do, they haven't just gotten to you, they've converted you. Integrity keeps you clear, it keeps your decisions clean. You never have to remember lies, cover your tracks, or explain inconsistencies. Toxic people constantly shift roles. victim, villain, hero, whatever suits the moment. But when you live in integrity, you only play one role: the person who doesn't bend just because the pressure increases. That consistency is rare, and rare is powerful. People will question your calm. They'll try to provoke you into showing your teeth. But restraint is not submission. It's precision. It's control. It's deciding that your reputation, your peace, and your self-respect are worth more than any temporary victory that costs you your principles. Integrity keeps you grounded in a world that tries to pull you into chaos. It separates you from the noise. It makes you untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you're not performing.